thoughts just here, right here. Amen. Hallelujah,
Good morning.
Amen. Praise God.
Brother Eli, would you collect the Sunday school offering, please? As I get situated, we've been talking about what major topic? We've been talking about evangelism. And before I go any farther, because I know I will forget, does anybody remember what's going on in September?
Amen.
It's National Baptist Church Sunday on the 18th. So we really want to boost that up and invite somebody. And like I said, what I asked everyone to do, go ahead and pray about one individual. You don't have to go witnessing to them. You don't need to tell them that they're dying and going to hell. But just tell them, hey, Sunday, September 18th is National Baptist Church Sunday. Why don't you come to church with us on Sunday? Or why don't you show up at church? It's a great opportunity to just simply put the foot in the door and say, hey, we'd love to see you in church. Also, speaking of evangelism, evangelism comes in many different forms. And one form we have going on here is we do have a YouTube account with our videos from the preaching, the teaching, and yesterday I spent the whole day uploading Kids Crusade videos. So they're all online. Yes, Brother Carter, you've been online for years, so I'm not shocked. Anyhow, they are available if you want to watch them. And those are also a tool that you can point people to. Do you go to church anywhere? No, I'm not interested. Well, you know what? Our church has a YouTube video channel. And if they want to find it, all they have to do is type in MRC Lichens, and everything will come up that we have. And we literally have thousands and thousands of videos of it. Speaking of which, bro, the top 10 of me is getting slimed the other year from Kids Crusade. But regardless, that is also a tool we have out there that people can use. Also, it's a great tool for us. You go back, you review the sermon, you go back, you review the teaching, maybe you're going through your notes, something doesn't make sense. You go back, the information's right there, you can listen to it. And with that being said, if they can't remember MRC, that stands for Miracle Revival, the way I've broken it down is I've told people, can you remember Mr. C, relating it to Mr. T, because everybody knows Mr. T. So it's a matter of that's out there. If they want to use it, it's available. So we do have that form of evangelism going on. And when we talk about evangelism, we look at that it's not just for missionaries. It's not just to go overseas to a foreign land, but it's taken from the Greek word that's translated apostles, which means sent ones. And when we look at Mark chapter 16 and verse 15, who did Christ send into the world? Every single Christian. He didn't just say, follow me, but in Mark 16:15, he said, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And when we look at the world we're living in, we are living in a very dark age, and there's a lot of people on their way going to hell that need salvation. And if our own eyes isn't enough, Jesus already gave us and informed us that there's a lot of people going to hell because narrow is the way that leads to salvation, that leads to heaven, but broad is the way. That in itself gives us the indication that there's a lot of people dying and going to hell. And there's few that enter into heaven. And we need to be working while there is still light, but while the field is still yet ripe, and we are able to work. Because one thing we will not be able to do in heaven is witness. We will not be able to witness to the lost because there will be none. That time was for here. That time is for now. And that calling is for everybody. And we talked about the advantages of personal evangelism. what we're called relating to us, going door to door, talking to people. We're not going to another country. We're not going over to China. But we did look at the advantages we had. Some being, we know the common dialect. We know the lingo. We know the language. We don't have to learn a whole other foreign language. We know and are familiar with the religion of the area. We know how to acquaint ourselves to reach the lost around us the best we can. And if nothing else, we need to start somewhere. We looked at the fact that every year 56 million souls die. And they're either going to heaven or hell. But so many times we as a church get lazy, we get lackadaisical, and we get comfortable, and we forget about those around us. One of the greatest tactics of the enemy is to get our eyes unfocused, to get them blurry. In the world we're living in, we look at this Pokemon Go and how everyone's obsessed with it. People trip, they bump, they run into things, they're going into people's yards. I mean, there's all kinds of comical stuff out there. If I'm not mistaken, even with last year, it wasn't even related to Pokemon Go, but because people were paying attention to where they were going, there were 2 people that fell off a cliff and died because they believed that they were playing with some type of mobile device. And we sit here and we laugh about it, but the devil has our eyes unfocused from the things around us. And we're tripping and we're stumbling through this world. Maybe we are living the way we're supposed to be, but we don't realize what's going on around us. We are distracted. And when we get our eyes refocused, when we get our eyes on Christ, when we get down into the Word of God, we begin realizing that we are not just going through this world. And as much as we sing about Christ's second return, how He's coming back any moment, we love to hear the preaching that Christ is coming back at any moment and we're going to be raptured. What are we doing in the meantime to make sure that others are going with us? It is great that we're going, but who's going with us? Or have we been content to sit there? Now, when we look at Scripture, Paul said that it was the love of God that compelled him to win the lost. When we look at the book of Jude, we have men and women saving and working with fear, trying to pluck those souls out of the fire. What made them do it so fervently? Because their eyes were on Christ, they realized the present situation, and the love of Christ constrained them or forced them to. They had a burden, a passion, and a longing to reach the lost at any cost. When that verse, saved with fear, doesn't mean that they were just going about if they saw somebody great. But they were diligent. They were working. They were doing everything they could to reach others around us. And if it's not the love of God that constrains us, then the mere fact that we are commanded to should force us to go with the lost. I don't know about you, but there are things in this life that sometimes I just don't feel. I don't feel like getting up and going to work every day I have to go. In fact, I'm on vacation and I'm avoiding Walmart as much as possible. It is not my happy place, but why do I go? I got bills. I got to take care of this. I got to go that. Do I want to go? No. Well, we don't always have the same feelings towards spiritual things that we should. Do we even want to read our Bible every day? Do we want to pray every day? And there are times when we don't want to, but we do it because we're commanded to. We're supposed to. We need to keep feeding that spiritual man. You know, it's like when you're sick. Sometimes you don't feel like eating. But why do you eat? Even if it's just something little. Because you want to keep your strength up. Even if you don't feel like it, you do it. Evangelism is no different. Even if we don't feel like it. Even if the love of Christ doesn't constrain us. Even if we don't have that burden or that passion pushing us. We are still commanded to go in with the lost at any cost. And our position urges us to. We've all done things in the past, I'm sure, that we didn't want to, but because we were in that position of father, mother, son, daughter, employee, whatever it was, we did it anyhow. But we have a great position with Christ. We are compared to high priests, kings, to break it down and not throw words to the Bible, but queens. We are children of God Almighty, and we are ambassadors of Him on this earth. And responsibility compels us to win the lost at any cost. And it doesn't matter if you chose to do it or not, it comes along with territory. You might not have chosen Christ. He chose you. And you might not feel like you're the most qualified. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Some people, if they're qualified, they have too big of a brain. They think that they can do this. They just stumble along. But the person who diligently is seeking, trying to learn, they are learning to the best of their ability how to learn something. They're reading books. They're reading literature. They're listening to stuff. They're doing everything they can to indulge that they may become better for the task at hand. You know, we need to be doing the same thing with personal evangelism. We need to be doing everything we can to reach the lost. What did Paul say? He did everything he could to reach every individual. To the Gentiles, he became a Gentile. To the Jew, he became a Jew. What did that mean? As we stated in the past, we can say things in a certain way, but people may not always know what it means to invite Jesus Christ into your heart. They might not know what it means to accept him as their personal Savior. So what do we have to do? We need to reword it. We need to reach out and word it in such a way that they understand it. I've said in the past, I can't remember who it was, but they said this. What they've learned in their lifetime is if they cannot break information down to the point that a 6-year-old can understand it, that they need to go back and check it. Because they want to make sure that whatever they're teaching, whatever point they're trying to make across, is understandable to every individual under their voice. Last week we looked at Paul's call, how God had called him. We looked a little bit at his burden, and we looked at his message, and we'll be continuing picking up with that. We're going to be flipping over to page 11 here in a second. But at the bottom of page 10, Paul's missionary message. His message was this, that he had received of God the same message that we have. Mark 16:15. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. If someone would please read 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 17. 1 Corinthians 1 and verse 17.
For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect.
So Paul said that Christ did not call him to baptize people. He did not call him to lay hands on them that they might receive the baptism of the Holy Ghost with evidence of speaking in other tongues. He didn't say that God called him to cast out demons or lay hands and heal the sick. He said simply to preach the gospel. And is that not what we have in Mark 16:15? The same command that we are given. That great apostle that went through all those different cities, that established so many different churches, the one that wrote the majority of the New Testament, had the exact same basic message that we have. That is what compelled him. That is what drove him. To go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. When we look at that word preach, it does not necessarily mean to get up behind the pulpit. It does not mean to lead a Sunday school class. It doesn't even mean to get your soapbox out and stand on the corner. And it doesn't even mean to pull a David McPherson and stand in the corner on a chair with your finger pointing to the sky until you got an audience and then run to the church. It means a proclamation, a powerful proclamation, a public proclamation, to advocate earnestly. And when we look at the gospel message, that's exactly what it is. It's not just a proclamation, but it's a powerful proclamation. The most powerful proclamation or statement or message that could ever be delivered, because it is the only one that declares that man is a sinner, but God sent his only Son to die on the cross, and he verified that he was the Son of God through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. That is the gospel message. That is the message that we are all familiar with and we've heard for years and years and can put it in a nutshell. And that is what Paul preached. He might have been long-winded and drug it out, and we know that because of the young boy that fell out of the window, but it is the same basic message. Man's a sinner. God sent his only son to die on the cross for our sins. 3 days later, he died. 3 days later, he arose from the dead. That's simple. And that is what we're supposed to be spreading. Telling everyone the good, powerful news that God loves them and that he did everything he could that they don't have to go and die and go to a sinner's hell. As I've already stated from the very beginning, not every tool that God uses is a sermon. Not every gospel message that is preached is from behind the pulpit. It comes in many forms. Cassettes, probably way back then, 8 tracks. This morning we were talking about YouTube, our YouTube account. It's right there. Facebook, word of mouth, tracts, literature, books, pamphlets, and maybe as much as hanging a Kids Crusade flyer in the public library. There are many forms to try to spread the gospel message. There are medical people. There are people that actually go into the medical field to go and overseas and help out for the mere fact that they might be a missionary to those that they're helping. You know, the gospel message comes in many different forms. It can come in the form of education, in schools, you know, even meeting around the flagpole in the mornings and having prayer. The gospel message comes in many tools and many mediums. God is using the Randalls in Taiwan, but guess what? If we give them missions, we also have a hand in spreading that gospel message. There are many ways that we can aid in spreading the gospel message. But the one that we're focusing on in this series, is one-to-one, one-on-one, individual, personal evangelism. Talking to other people and telling them their need for God. Their need to accept Jesus Christ as their personal saviors. And one of those advantages that we talked about in weeks past of personal evangelism is the fact that people know us. They know our family. They know where we're coming from. They might know our entire history. And when they look at that, sometimes, even though they've never picked up a Bible, the mere fact that they know us is a way that we can spread the gospel message. The way that we live, the way that we act, the way that we talk. That in itself is a means to spreading the gospel message. If someone would please read 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 2. 2 Corinthians 3:2.
Here are epistles written in our hearts, known of all men.
Ye are our epistles written on our hearts. What is that basically saying? That you may be the only Bible that some people may ever read. And they will know God or not know God through you. One of the greatest lacks of verifications for Christianity, disappointments for Christianity, maybe those people that go in to Boyer's or Walmart on Sunday morning right after the sermon to go in and get their meal. Because they will tell you in retail that church people, especially on Sunday after church, are some of the meanest people you've ever dealt with. And mean people or hungry people are mean to begin with. I'll tell you that and verify that. But everywhere we go, people are looking at us. They're seeing how we act, how we behave. Whether we're a saint inside the church and a saint outside, or a saint inside and the devil outside. People know. They've known us. And it doesn't matter what we say or do, it comes back to we can can use that as our greatest tool, or it can be our greatest downfall. Because we've lived in the area our entire life. Maybe we're not called to be a preacher, evangelist. People know our family. They know our history. They've seen us from the A on high. There's people that tell me to say hi to Mom and Grandma, and I have no idea who they are. But they know who I am. Because they know them and they've seen me grow up. The same is true of everyone else. We've lived in this area for how long? People have seen us, they've seen our family. Let us not use that to hinder us, but let us use that as an advantage to witnessing and winning the lost at any cost. When it comes to Miracle Revival Church, we might be in an area where there's 1 million churches, where there's a church on every block. But what makes us different? Why should people come here? If they're going to see a difference in us versus everybody else, whether the Catholics, Methodists, Lutherans, it don't matter. There should be something different about this church. There should be something different about the people in this church that make them curious to wonder what's going on here. And the more that we start talking to people, the more that we start attempting to win souls, the more that we pray about it, the more that we draw closer to God, we will start having that burden, and we'll start having that desire, and we'll start having that passion. And sometimes it may get to the point where it feels like you're going to explode. But what do we need to do? We need to keep feeding it. We don't want that to disappear. Pastors used this illustration before about the man who would preach and just cry and cry and cry. And then he prayed that God would take away his tears so that he could actually preach and deliver a decent message. But then the tears dried up and they didn't come back, and he had to pray and pray for it. No, we don't want that to be our... That should be... Let me back up and figure out how I want to phrase this. When it comes to spiritual things, we need to avoid that place from the mere fact that God might take it from us, but we might have to work harder to get it back. And we might not realize what we've lost until it's gone. When we get those burdens, when we get those passions, when we get our desires, we need to start feeding them. We need to keep them growing. What do people do when they want to succeed at something? They start surrounding themselves with stuff concerning that topic, that work area, quotes, pictures. They might make a vision board on where they want to see themselves in 10 years. They'll surround themselves with books. They'll read up on it. They'll read articles. As Christians, we shouldn't be any different. We should dive into the Word of God, focus on those verses, and apply them. Maybe write them out, handwrite them, print them off. Pictures of the lost dying and going to hell. Whether it's reading more literature, whether it's diving in and reading Ray Comfort's book, Hell's Best Kept Secret, whether it's diving into personal evangelism books and learning how to reach the lost and cultivating and trying to get better. Because we need to do everything to win the lost. Because our jobs in this lifetime doesn't matter. Our medals that we win. Who's that swimmer that's, I don't know if he won all the gold medals. I guess he was up to beat an Olympian record that held for 2,100 years. Phelps. I think he needed one more 2 days ago or something, and he would have broke the record. But in the end, when he dies, he's going to stand before the same God you and I are. When he dies, all the accomplishments in this lifetime, even if he breaks or broke that record of the 2,100, that stood for 2,100 years, it's not going to mean anything. But what he did for God in this lifetime, that's what counts. And there's only two things we can take out of this world with us. Our works are going to follow us, but the souls that we've got won for the kingdom of God, they're going to follow us as well. Nothing else should matter, because that is what we're going to be judged by. That is what's going to matter in eternity. And the more that we cultivate that desire, the more that we cultivate that ambition, we need to let it grow and grow and grow. Because when we look at the example of the Apostle Paul, that's exactly what happened to him. He got so much of a God, he got so much of a desire to spread the gospel message. He desired to go where no man has gone before. That phrase should sound familiar. I think those were Kennedy's words when we were trying to set a man on the moon. To go where no man's gone before. That was the desire of the Apostle Paul. We find that in Romans chapter 15, 21, verses 20 and 21, if someone would please find that. Romans 15, 20 and 21. And someone else, 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 16. 2 Corinthians 10 and 16. Romans 15, verse 20 and 21.
Yea, so have I strived to preach the gospel, not where Christ was named, lest I should build upon another man's foundation. But as it is written, to whom he was not spoken of, they shall see, and they that have not heard shall perceive.
He wanted to go somewhere where Christ was not known. Someone who has never heard about Christ. That was Paul's goal and his desire, to go there. If no one else will go there, I'll go there, is what the Apostle Paul is saying. I will take it to the farthest reaches of the Roman Empire as possibly can. We have it in Scripture, and I don't have it in my notes, but Paul actually desired to go to Spain in his lifetime, before he died. He never made it there. But he had that desire, he had that ambition, he had that drive. He wanted to go as far as God would allow him to those who have never heard the gospel message. What about 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 16?
Preach the gospel and obedience to the man able not to boast in another man's line of things prepared for our
So
feet.
he wanted to go where no man has gone before. He wanted to go where Jesus Christ was never heard of before. He would go where all those gods were that the pagans have worshipped for centuries and millennia, even though they might have changed their names from Dagon to Neptune to Poseidon. The names might have changed, but the gods did not. The demons still did not that desired to be worshipped. And Paul wanted to go there. And it compelled him. And it forced him. And it drove him to the point where all of a sudden he's standing on top of Mars Hill preaching about the altar to the unknown God. He wanted to go somewhere where they never heard of Christ before. That was his desire. That was his ambition. That was his driving force. Let me win the lost at any cost. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And he proved that in his lifetime. If someone would please read 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Well, I'll go ahead and turn there. There's quite a few verses. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Verses 23 through 30. Second Corinthians 11, 23 through 30. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors more abundantly. In stripes above measure. We're getting go into Paul's suffering list. Stripes above measure. In prisons more frequent. In deaths often. Of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. In other words, my own people beat me. 3 times or thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day have I been in the deep. In journeys often, in perils of water, in perils of robbers, in perils by my own countrymen, in perils by the heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren, in weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger, in thirst, in fastings often, in cold, and nakedness. Besides those things that are without, that cometh upon me daily, the care of all churches. Who is weak, and I am not weak. Who is offended, and I burn not. If I must needs glory, I will glory at the things which I concern my infirmities. Would someone else please find Acts chapter 9 and verse 16? Acts 9, 16. and someone else, 1 Corinthians 4, 9 through 13. 1 Corinthians 9 through 13.
For I will show him how great things he will suffer from the name's sake.
And he will suffer for the sake of Jesus